Good evening and welcome to the 4th annual NTTV Sports Zone Draft Special. We are here just officially 1 week away from the NFL Draft, and we're here to break it all down. We're going to look at everything from film breakdown, from hot takes. We're going to talk about everything today. Of course, I'm your host, Stephen Lucero. Joining me to talk about the mock drafts coming up first, Rohan and Ian Cropper. Guys, there's nothing that says draft like a good first-round mock draft, and I can't wait to get into it. We have some different takes, different picks. We got some trades. We got it all going on. So, Ian, start us off with your first-round mock draft.
Yeah, so this is an exciting draft, and I do think we're going to get at least one big trade in the top 10 that shapes how the entire rest of the draft goes. For me, that happens at number 3, where after two fairly obvious picks in Fernando Mendoza to the Raiders and Unveil to the Jets, we get a huge bombshell when the Cowboys send the number 12 pick this year, 4th and 5th round selections this year, and their own first next year to the Arizona Cardinals to select Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I think this makes sense. One, the Cowboys need a kind of player that Sonny Styles provides. He is the kind of Roquan Smith, Fred Warner field general who just elevates an entire defensive unit. The second is that I think the Cardinals can still get someone they need at 12. They need an offensive lineman. I think Spencer Fano is there, but if not, I think Maui Goa or Monroe Freeling are there. I also think that Jerry Jones wants to earn back some goodwill from Cowboys fans after trading away Micah Parsons, and getting someone like Styles helps with that. Finally, I think if he's still available at number 5, the Giants would be primed to select a linebacker. That is their biggest need. So getting Sonny Styles at 3 deprives him from a division rival. So I do think that pick makes a lot of sense.
Ian, I love Sonny Styles. I mean, just to give you some example, I have him as my number 2 player in this entire draft. I think he's an incredible, so much more than just a linebacker. This is a chess piece that can be used really all over the field, and he has proven that ability all throughout his college career, and he's just had an incredible combine. Everything that you can do to rise your draft stock, Sonny Styles has done that. As we look at some highlights here, this is a game wrecker in Sonny Styles. I mean, this is, yes, an off-ball linebacker, and typically those don't go that high, but this isn't a player that can do just so much more than that, disrupting all over the field. He is absolutely incredible. But guys, the one concern I have here is the Cowboys moving up all the way to 3. You talked about what it would take to give up. That's a lot, and that's a hefty price to pay for a Cowboys team that isn't usually willing to do that. They haven't traded up in the first round since 2012 with Morris Claiborne. So obviously this would be a big-time move for a big-time player. Ian, what makes you think that this is the time to make the move?
Well, I already mentioned the Micah Parsons situation and the sorry state of the defense. Like I said, Sonny Styles is definitely the kind of player that can elevate an entire unit. But it's also worth considering Jerry's getting up there in years. Like, this might not be his final draft, but it's probably one of the last few. He'll want to leave a mark on the team, and he does love his superstars. I think Sonny Styles can be that type of massive impact defensive player.
But we do realize that for the Dallas Cowboys having a pick at 12 and 20, making a pick for Sonny Styles, what would you have to give up? Now, in this draft, I feel like it's very defensive heavy. Some player will fall into your lap, and I guarantee that. So stick at 12 and 20. I like the mock draft at 3. I like Sonny Styles, don't get me wrong, but it's such a defensive heavy draft that you can get the player that you want at 12.
Yeah, there's a lot of great defenders, and you have, Ian, Unveil going at 2, and maybe most surprisingly, David Bailey falling all the way to number 7. These are 2 prospects that are often mocked at 1 and 2. A lot of people are comparing the 2 players. Who should go first? You clearly have Reese. What do you think sets him apart?
Well, I don't think the Jets need a pure edge as much, since they do still have Will McDonald. I think linebacker is a bigger need. Honestly, I did kind of debate for a while whether I wanted to give them Reese or Styles when I was forming my mock drafts. But I think the difference with Reese is that he is more of that linebacker edge hybrid. And even though they do have Will McDonald, they could still use a monster on the pass rush. I do think that's what Reese provides. He was just phenomenal on this Ohio State defense. I could also see them going David Bailey. And David Bailey, no knock against him. I have him falling just purely as a circumstance of the team's picking. I think they have more pressing needs in edge rusher until you get to Washington, where, quite frankly, I'm not convinced Clavon Chason and Javon Kinlaw are the long-term solutions there. But Reese is a monster, and Bailey's falling is through no fault of his own.
And we can have the debate about Unveil and David Bailey. However, Unveil has made one thing clear in the postgame press conference last year: getting to the quarterback. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge rusher? He has made it proven now that he wants to get to the quarterback. And I feel like at 2 and 3, you cannot make a mistake there. I would go with any player if you ask me.
Yeah, it's hard to really go wrong. These are two excellent prospects. It's just going to be a matter of who the Jets prefer. We'll have to see, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later on. But you also have Caleb Downs going at 5 to New York. Definitely a big rise for the safety, an elite prospect from Ohio State. What makes you think the Giants make the move that high?
Well, like I said, I think New York's biggest need in this class is linebacker, but with both of the Ohio State premier linebackers gone in those first 3 picks, I think Caleb Downs becomes the obvious selection. Now, I've seen some people mock wide receiver to the Giants. I think that's a little greedy. They did just sign Darnell Mooney. He's not like this super elite player, but I do think he is a stopgap wide receiver too, alongside Malik Neighbors. So then your priority becomes the secondary, and Caleb Downs, big body player, can be strong safety, free safety, even nickelback if you need him to. I think he'll be great in John Harbaugh's new defense.
All right, lots to look at. Take me through the rest of this first round, Ian. Obviously, you have a lot going on here. Take me through the highlights. Tell me some of your main picks.
Right, so the Rams are another pick where people have them getting greedy. To be fair, both Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams are going to be free agents in 2027. But I think if they want to maximize their window to win now, Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, tackle, is the pick. Ruben Bain at 14, that I think is a bigger fall than David Bailey. Again, no knock on his talent. And the Ravens do have bigger needs than defensive end, particularly with the interior of that offensive line. But if Ruben Payne's available at 14, then that's just a no-brainer of a pick. Kenyon Sadiq at 19 of the Panthers, I think that's very much his floors, because like with the edges, teams above just have more pressing needs. But Sadiq fills an immediate need there. I do think he's better than Tommy Trimble. If you're getting Trey McBride comparisons, that's a great sign. Vega Ioane, guard out of Penn State to the Chargers. Again, that's more towards his floor, but with how bad that Chargers offensive line was, I do think it's necessary. The Bills trading down from 26 to get, for the Raiders to get Omar Cooper to pair him with Mendoza. I mean, Mendoza's getting Joe Burrow comparisons, might as well give him his Jamar Chase. And finally, the first round ends with a bang with Ty Simpson getting picked at number 32 with the Steelers trading with the Seahawks. The Seahawks only have 4 picks in this draft, so I think them trading back to get someone like Jadarian Price in the second is a good move. And the Steelers get a quarterback they can develop for a year, presuming Aaron Rodgers does return.
Yeah, I think that'd be an excellent move. A lot to go on here. But Rohan, I want to get into your mock draft next. Take me through it. Take me through your top picks as we put them on the board.
All right, let's do it. So I want to make one thing clear here. It's very hard to predict draft day traits. However, I do have one at 16 and 13. Rams looking for extra draft capital, while the Jets are a rebuilding team. We can talk about their quarterback, but they're a rebuilding team if you ask me. Now, for the Cowboys in perspective, you got 12 and 20. What are you going to do with it? With Caleb Downs being here, I like this dude, man. He is 6 feet tall, 195, 200 pounds, ran a 440 in the 40-yard dash. That is absolutely unbelievable. One of the best of any safety you will ever see. So what I'm trying to say here is that at 12 and 20, you can make that Caleb Downs pick because you can take a chance on Jermod McCoy at cornerback. He had that ACL injury in last January. We can get into that a little bit later, but Caleb Downs is my player. He's got quick hands, and he is the player to be for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, we look at Caleb Downs' highlights just here, and it just feels like this is a player that, yes, he's a safety, but, man, he can do so much more than that.
He can also stop the run.
Yes, he can stop the run. He can work in the box. He can work up high. This is a player that is so versatile, and safeties, though, do have a tendency to fall in drafts. We saw it with Kyle Hamilton, with Derwin James over the years. If the Cowboys have a chance to land a premier player at 12, I think Caleb Downs might just be the guy that falls to them. That'd be huge for Dallas.
I mean, honestly, my only issue with that pick is that I think Caleb Downs is too good to be there by number 12. I had him going at number 5. I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Washington, New Orleans, even Cincinnati took him. I especially don't know why Cincinnati is taking Jordan Tyson at 10 when they already have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
And that's what they do. And even with your mock draft, you had David Bailey at 7, so we can also debate that a bit later. But for the Cowboys, I do want to point out with your Sonny Styles trade, I like that. It's just something that the Cowboys don't do, as you pointed out, rightly so, Steven. So for this draft in general, I really like my mock draft, if you ask me. What about you, Stephen?
Well, it's very interesting, and I want to continue before we get into the rest of it with the Cowboys, because this is a huge draft for Dallas. 2 first-round picks for the first time in a very long time, and you have at 20 Jermod McCoy.
Absolutely.
This is a very interesting prospect, because if he's in the draft perhaps last year, this is an undisputed top 10, top 5 pick. However, tears his ACL and misses the entirety of 2025. These highlights right here are from 2024 when he was absolutely lighting up the league at Tennessee. I mean, he was just one of the best cornerbacks in the nation. and he proved that he is capable. However, that torn ACL has a lot of teams concerned about that knee and whether or not he's going to be ready and healthy to come draft time. What makes you think the Cowboys make the move at 20?
Right. He even had 13 solo tackles and 3 interceptions in a 6-game span. Let's take a moment to realize that. But with Jermod McCoy, he had the ACL surgery last January. Now, with the Dallas Cowboys, and you and I have debated this for a while now, going from a 4-3 to a 3-4 defense, very passer-friendly, especially in deep coverage. When Jermod McCoy stands with Kobe Durant, Demarion Overshown, whoever you want, and Deron Bland as well, that defense, from what we saw last year, Steven, under Matt Eberflus, was unbelievable. Playing zone coverage every single time, playing prevent defense on 4th and 3rd at Carolina, he doesn't know what he's doing. However, new defense coordinator in Christian Parker, he exactly knows what he's doing, and he has the personnel finally to run man. And like I said, Jermod McCoy, high risk, high reward. Let's see how he does. I only want this because of the fact that we have Caleb Downs at 12. You can take a chance now at number 20 with him.
Yep, certainly high risk, high reward. For me, it's just a matter of will the Cowboys be willing to make that risk? I am not so sure, but we'll have to see. Rohan, keep taking me through some of these picks.
Well, absolutely, and I know you want to talk about the Denzel Boston pick,
Yeah,
huh?
that is quite high. I have him going to the Patriots at 31. What makes you give him to Carolina at 19?
It's just a typical Carolina move. So like the Dallas Cowboys not trading up, I get it that that's what should happen, but is that what will happen? And that's the whole thing about the situation when making a mock draft. You can't predict draft day trades, but can you predict a wide receiver like Denzel Boston of the Panthers? I absolutely think that they can. They're not some smart franchise who makes great picks, mind you. So with the Dallas Cowboys here with 2 first-round picks, I believe that they are very well set, if you ask me.
All right, very interesting. A few more players here as we go through the back half of it. Rohan, anyone else that sticks out to you?
What about that last pick right there?
Yeah.
You need a running back. Let's go get one. And I know you and I have debated about this, right? Jeremiah Love, will he go at 4 to the Titans having Tony Pollard? And I want to get your opinion on that real quick.
It's going to be very interesting. I love him as a prospect. I think he's a great player. However, I don't think the Seahawks go running back in the first round.
Sure.
Whether or not they decide to trade down, do something like that, we'll have to see. But I don't think they go in the first round. We'll have to watch.
Right.
I actually do agree with Steven there. I do have them picking Jadarian Price in the second, but I think they trade down with Pittsburgh or someone like that to get there. Picking Jadarian Price at 32, even though he's a great running back, would be a bit of an overpayment in my opinion.
Sure. And to finish off with this, the Dallas Cowboys running a 3-4 defense for the first time since 2012 under Rex Ryan. Can they do better under Christian Parker? Back-to-back 7-win seasons. You want to turn things around? You want to dominate on both sides of the ball? This is the pick you need to make right here.
All right, Rohan, I'm going to scoot
Sure.
right past you and join this conversation. Get into my mock draft because, guys, I have a kind of a mix of each of yours. I have some similar picks. And, I mean, I got to start off with number 1 because Fernando Mendoza, as much as, you know, it kind of feels like the guarantee, I mean, we got to talk about it, right? I just think he's the number 1 pick in this draft, and it's going to be very interesting 2 and 3 for me. This is David Bailey and Arvell Reese. This could flip either direction. David Bailey is the proven prospect. He went to Texas Tech, lit up the boards with sacks, TFLs, basically everything you can imagine. However, you have Arvell Reese, and this is a player that we're banking on potential for him. Obviously did not have quite the production, but this is a linebacker / edge. He was a chess piece at Ohio State, did a lot of different things. His potential, I think it's at a Micah Parsons level. This is through the roof. If he can focus on edge rushing, to me, that is the high ceiling. David Bailey, he's got the high floor. We'll see what the Jets do. I think they go safe with David Bailey. Jeremiah Love at 4. This is one that I went back and forth on a lot. I'm not confident in it just because the Titans, they have Tony Pollard, they have Tajay Spears. It's not the biggest need, but I just wonder they tried to trade back here. I don't know if there's going to be that team that's willing to make the move, though. So for me, I think you just got to go best player on the board. This is my number 1 prospect in this draft. I think they go Jeremiah Love. Where it gets a little crazy for me, I have wide receivers going a lot earlier than people expect. Carnell Tate at 5 and Mekhi Lemon at 6. The Giants and Browns teams, you know, the Giants maybe don't need a wide receiver. They have Malik Neighbors, but I think they have just so much talent offensively. They have Scadaboo. Pair him with Carnell Tate, I think it could be incredible. The thing with the Giants, they brought in a whole lot of wide receivers in their top 30 visits. And guys, you're going to hear me mention this a few times. Top 30 visits. This is something I value a whole lot. Teams, if you don't know what a top 30 visit is, they have a chance to bring in 30 prospects in this week, month leading up to the draft. And these are the guys that they are just showing an interest in. It's sort of like a job interview for the NFL. So for me, of these 32 picks, 22 of them visited with their teams. This is a stat that is interesting, and it can vary from team to team. Obviously, you're going to see trades, you're going to see all kinds of stuff that can make that, you know, adjustment. However, I want to talk about the Cowboys next because they're a team that rarely sways away from their top 30 visits. In the last 20 years, since 2006, only 4 players were non-top 30 visits. Those were Morris Claiborne in 2012. Who knows? They may make a trade like that again. You had CeeDee Lamb in 2020 because of COVID, couldn't do the visit. And then you had Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton. So it's very rare that they stray. That's why I have Caleb Downs, the other main man from Ohio State, to the Cowboys at 12. You talked about it, Ian. He might be gone by this point, and I hope not for Dallas. They love him as a prospect, and I think that if he's there, they will snag him at 12 in a heartbeat. For the other Cowboys pick, I had them trading down all the way to 27 with the San Francisco 49ers to pick up another top 30 visit in Cassius Howell. This is a player out of Texas A&M who is very interesting. He had a great production season last year. However, the concern is arm length. Same exact thing with Ruben Bain. The short arms are a concern to teams. This is a guy, even shorter arms. The Cowboys like him, though. I would not mind him at 27. Pick up an extra pick from the 49ers. They move up, take Caden Proctor, an incredible tackle. He fell a little bit. I think the 49ers stopped the slide and take advantage. A few more things I have going on here. Kenyon Sadiq picked at 15. The Browns trading up all the way from 24 to take this incredible tight end that we talked about, that we're going to talk about a little more. This is a player.
Browns?
Yeah, this is a player that is so much more than a tight end. You know, he can be almost a wide receiver for you. And notably, the Browns, the only one that have had an official visit with him so far. I think they go up and make the move. So, guys, you know, there's a lot going on here. Anything sticks out to you want to talk about?
Well, I do particularly love the back half of your draft. I'm not so sure about Kenyon Sadiq to the Browns because they already have Harold Fenton, but I do love most of these picks. There are 2 I want to talk about. First is C.J. Allen to my Buffalo Bills. I do love the fit there. I have them trading back, like I said, with the Raiders. C.J. Allen is the player I ended up having them take. It was between him and Malachi Lawrence, but I do think he raises the floor. The other pick is Kristen Miller. I don't agree with that because even though they need defensive tackle, C.J. Stroud has been dying without offensive line help, so I think they take O-line there.
And just real quick, both of y'all have draft day trades for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't. The pick will fall to you. I guarantee it.
All right, we'll have to see. But, guys, we are going to move on and talk about some more of these players coming up in offensive film study coming up next after this break.